What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy, and I'm back in Texas. So, just real quick trip summary. Pretty standard. I mean, it went smoothly. I made the trip in 2 days. Got back here a couple nights ago and realized I had, no food for the morning. So, had to go out and do some quick grocery shopping after returning. But I got here at a reasonable enough time where that wasn't too absurd. It was 9 something p.m. local time. So, anyway, but enough about the trip. Something that kind of came to my mind shortly before the trip and then was also kind of swirling around in my head during and now a little bit after. Everything is just so divisive these days. Everything. And I just hate all the false dichotomies and all the situations where politicians and newscasters as well will make it seem like you're either this or you're that, on any given issue. There's no middle ground or something like that. And there were two recent news stories in particular that kind of jogged this whole train of thought in my head. The first one was actually when they were talking about possible nominees that Donald Trump was considering for Supreme Court justice. And it's just the kind of utter ridiculousness and how much spin that there was on that story. Yeah, I do this for spin. I don't know. Anyway, it just floored me how ridiculously much spin there was put on this story, on this particular upcoming political action issue thing, whatever you want to call it. It's just that, first off, why was it so ridiculously centered around Roe v. Wade? At least from what I was hearing on the news. As if that's the only significant thing that could be on the table for a Supreme Court justice? Really? But I guess it was more so talking about the contrast between at least the nominees that Trump was considering that had a pronounced stance on Roe v. Wade, and the fact that it kind of ran counter to the current Republican agenda of being anti-abortion. But really, and then there were the two other possible candidates that didn't have a pronounced stance, and everybody was kind of giving off the impression on the news that, well, the fact of them being so uncertain on this is probably going to, reduce their chances of actually, being considered once they would be nominated. And at this point, if I remember hearing right, Brett Kavanaugh? I think the dude's last name was Kavanaugh. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but he's the one that has been nominated by President Trump for Supreme Court justice, and I think we're just waiting for him to be confirmed at this point. And it just so threw me off that, that we would be talking so heavily about political party alignment and how you would assume a Supreme Court justice has to fall in line with that particular party's agenda when it comes to making and enforcing rules of laws. I'm pretty sure political party alignment is not the primary factor that you're supposed to be considering as a Supreme Court justice. Now, it has been proven over time that many Supreme Court justices on major decisions will vote along party lines. It has also been shown that Okay, correlation, not causation here, but related to that, they've also typically been very old when making these decisions. Who doesn't at that age kind of get a little set in their ways and goes along with kind of the broader groupthink of how they find themselves politically aligned? Like, nearly every significantly older person that I have met tends to think like that. You know, whenever it comes to divisive political issues anyway. But anyway, back to the main point of that. Why are we talking so heavily about one specific issue and whether or not this Supreme Court justice will follow party alignment? It's not... the word justice is in the title. Justice should not care for political alignment. So, again, just the whole focus on the division within our country along political lines is what I find so ridiculous about this. And then the other story that sparked this train of thought in my mind was actually, meanwhile, there was all this talk about the soccer team that got trapped in the cave in India, I think it was, and realizing throughout that just the massive difference in how that was portrayed and told. I don't know if it's because it was happening in another country specifically or how much weight that had on the way it was being told, but the contrast between how that story was being told and how the Supreme Court nomination story was being told just blows my mind, because Supreme Court nomination story was so heavily politicized and analyzed and, you know, viewed from a divisive angle. Meanwhile, you've got this story about this soccer team in India that's trapped in a cave that literally everybody can agree. We want these boys to be rescued. No room for question about that. The only questions involved were, okay, how are they going to get these boys out? And how long will it take? And will there be any possible casualties? Really, it was just logistical issues of trying to get the team out. There was no question of whether we should or should not get this team out of this cave. And the fact that we could all come together and agree on that while simultaneously being so divided over the whole Supreme Court justice nomination thing, it just blows my mind. How can we be so divisive on one issue and yet be so united on another? It's absolutely ridiculous. Why can we not agree on more things, like we do with the whole soccer team cave story? I think we can all agree that, in general, we have good intentions. So why can we not sit down, have civil discussions, talk about these matters, and, you know, actually get some stuff done rather than just barking these politicized punchlines, not punchlines, but like catchphrases at each other that, do we even know what they mean anymore? Because they've been so filled with political jargon that it's like there's 200 assumptions going into one little word. It's in a sentence now. And just trying to break all that down, it's so impossible to actually find the common ground anymore because of all this, you know, politicizing. That's not how we should be doing things. And yet, this is the situation in which we find ourselves. So, really, the big thing that was going on in my mind was, why can we not be more united like everybody's train of thought was on the whole saving the soccer team in India matter? Now I realize that was a much less complicated, complex issue. You know, there wasn't really any politics involved in it, but I feel like it's a sad statement in our country when we won't say the same thing for, oh yeah, we should help homeless people, or we should help, I don't know, wounded veterans, or we should help people that need medical attention. We all agree that we want to help this soccer team. Why do we not want to help pretty much anybody else that is in another equally dire situation, but it just doesn't seem as urgent because that's like their everyday life? Again, the contrast between the two stories is just mind-blowing. I cannot wrap my head around it. What is wrong with this country? But anyway, I've babbled on enough. I do not have an answer for this. I wish I did. But no. My only response is, can we, actually talk about this stuff more and in a civilized manner? Because whenever, we're presented with a simple situation, we're given the facts, and the main point is there are people that need help, it seems like we can all agree on things. But for some reason, we've got to let politics overly complicate, everything else. Why? This kind of crap is the reason why George Washington said we shouldn't have political parties. But, we're stupid and couldn't go in line with that. Anyway, okay, I've blabbed on long enough. So, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. Is everything over politicized? Should we, be able to find more common ground? How can we find more common ground if that's the case? What is the best way to help all the people that are in need around us? Civilized discussions, please, not just political jabs at each other's party alignments. Because I think we can all agree, nobody is 100% completely along their party's groupthink mentality. Or at least they shouldn't be. I don't know. It's a messed up world we live in. So, on that lovely note, I think I'm gonna end this here. So, make sure you like, share, subscribe, click the subscription bell thing to get notifications whenever I post videos and stuff like this. Leave comments if you want more videos that are similar to this, or other ideas, different things you want me to talk about. Make sure to follow me, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That's all going to be down in the description if you're looking for how to find me there. And that's going to do it. So, I hope you're all doing well. Hopefully, I don't see it happening anytime soon, but I'm hoping that conversations about these kinds of things can help us move forward sometime in the future and eventually help make the world a better place. But, conversation alone doesn't get much done, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's it. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully, I will see you next time. Stay cool, people.